What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, as always, John J. II, and this is the GSN Sports Network podcast. Thank you for joining us today, November 3rd, 2021, a Wednesday. So happy to have you guys with us. Got a great show in store for you guys. A lot of great topics at hand, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of controversy, a lot of scandal going on in the sports world right now, and some other good things too. There's some good things sprinkled in there, but you got to be focused and you got to stay with me because you got to take everything with a grain of salt, no matter what story it is, from world news, from big time scandals with people you never expected to see him with. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. And that's how you got to roll with it every single week. That's how we got to roll with it every single week, with the news piling in, the news coming in constantly, day after day, minute after minute. Everything is breaking. Everything is brand new. So you got to roll with the punches. You got to be able to adapt, grow, and react to what's going on. That's what we do the best over here at the GSN Sports Network and for the GSN Sports Network podcast. It's something that we do. We cover controversy. We cover scandal. It's something we're good at, something we've done for a very long time. First thing I want to talk about, though, is new faces in new places. There is new faces in new places here within GSN Promotions, within the GSN Sports Network, that you will be seeing very soon, that are coming to the forefront, that are coming into the light as far as what we got going on here. New operation, a lot of new management, and it couldn't be better. We couldn't be happier with where we've came so far within the last few months, within the revamp, and things have been crazy. Things have been great. We're rolling with it, rocking, and going through it day by day, having a hell of a time doing it. And things are going to get crazier and even better as time goes on into the winter. Seems like a lull period. Everyone thinks, oh, the winter's a lull period, not a lot going on, it's not too hot out. You couldn't be more wrong by saying that. There's a lot going on in the wintertime, a lot going on within the cold weather. You got X Games, you got a lot of college athletics going on, college basketball starting up in the winter. You got NBA, you got NHL starting up. You got the Winter Classic coming up. There's a lot of things going on in the sports world, not only within the actual sports world, but within GSN Promotions and the GSN Sports Network as well, within the inside. So stay focused on that and stay with us. It's going to be a crazy ride, and we're excited. We're excited. A lot of new shows coming out, a lot of people in new positions that have been reborn, that have been born out of the ether, as far as what we got going on and what we need people to do to get the job done and have more outreach to our followers, to our viewers, and that's the most important thing to us. So before we get through all the housekeeping stuff, though, Bet with GSN, there's a lot of posts being made on the Bet with GSN Instagram, reviving the Instagram page, which used to be the overall GSN Promotions Instagram page. Bet with GSN is its own entity within the GSN Sports Network now, where bet slips will be posted. There will be a betting service with picks and insights that will be a paid service going into January of 2022. So stay tuned for that. A lot of information coming out on that as well. First off, let's talk about Sidney Crosby. He tests positive for COVID-19, and this sparks a wave of a lot of athletes, a lot of professional athletes, not just within the NHL, but within multiple leagues, multiple sports, where they're testing positive, and it seems like the new wave of COVID has really came upon us. Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh Penguins, test positive for COVID-19 and will be inactive for at least 10 days per the new policy that a lot of professional leagues have adapted. And that is, if you're not vaccinated, even if you are vaccinated, this policy remains true. If you test positive for COVID, which is happening with a lot of people vaccinated and unvaccinated, you got to take a minimum of 10 days, a 10-day hiatus from all athletics. So that means practices, that means, team film, that means obviously contests, professional contests, games. It also involves that. So that's in light of another professional athlete that has tested positive for COVID-19, that being Aaron Rodgers. And he will be inactive against the Chiefs this weekend, which is a big deal because the Chiefs don't really have much to bark at. They don't have much of a tree to bark at if you're a dog. So there's some little nitpick things that you can look at as far as what we can expect for this game, as far as the betting lines, as far as, over unders, things of that nature, prop bets, things of that nature. So betting, the aspect of betting will be a big aspect to look into going into this contest at Arrowhead with the Kansas City Chiefs that have already been playing like shit. Let's just be honest. Let's put that out there for everyone to know, against the Packers without Aaron Rodgers at the helm, which has really been, he's been the forefront. He's been the guy, and he always has been, at least the last, recent history within the Green Bay Packers franchise. You've seen Aaron Rodgers be the pinnacle, be the cornerstone of that offense to really allow them to win games. So something to consider. And in light of that, I'm going to jump ahead. Actually, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that has barely scraped by. They're 4-4 now, barely winning against the Giants, and piss poor performances all around. Pat Mahomes is throwing picks. He's doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and he's making bad decisions. Without saying it any clearer than that, he's making bad decisions that we're not expecting seeing from Patty Mahomes. Now, I got Patty Mahomes on my fantasy team in the GSN Fantasy Football League. Listen, it's not looking good. It's not looking pretty. Forced fumbles, you got picks in there. You got very minimal passing yards, 275 passing yards just by looking at my notes, 29 for 48 through the air. Absolutely unacceptable. The furthest pass that they had was to Tyreek Hill, and it was a little flick pass, which resulted in about 28 to 30 yards, something like that. It wasn't even a huge gain pass, but that was the most yardage-wise, yardage considered pass up until that point. We're talking late in the third quarter, where he's reaching these levels. It's unacceptable from a quarterback such as Patty Mahomes, especially after the heartbreak they ensued last year from losing by a significant margin to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, something that was not expected from Patty Mahomes fans, from Kansas City Chiefs fans. And they really saw this quarterback and they saw this entire offense, as a team that was really capable of beating very good teams. And we're not seeing a lot of that right now. It's kind of, on the back burner as far as winning games for the Kansas City Chiefs, something we haven't really expected, something we didn't expect to see them go in less than 500 against the Giants. Both teams were less than 500. It's kind of expected with the Giants, the New York Giants, right? And I took them plus 10.5. I want that to be on the record. On the GSN College podcast, I called plus 10.5 for the New York Giants against the Kansas City Chiefs, just because I see the uncertainty. I see the cloudiness. I see the confusion. I see it week after week. And that's something that I can expect. And that's something that I can be able to outsmart the bookies in, as far as seeing those vulnerabilities, seeing those intangibles. I don't care if they're playing at home. I don't care if they're playing at Arrowhead. And I'll be honest with you, I'll be very interested to see this line with the Packers missing Aaron Rodgers going against the Chiefs, against a Patty Mahomes that really has underperformed up until this point. Things to consider, things to look at. I'm going to be focusing on this very much, and the bookies are going to be focusing on it too. A lot of stuff happening within the college football landscape. We got to focus on this too. There has been breaking news that has really came to the forefront as far as the last 48 hours are concerned, the last 24 hours, and that is the college football playoff, the top 25, the playoff picture with the 4 teams. We have not yet came into the light with an extended playoff. You see 2 teams at the bottom of your screen right there in the graphic for those of you watching live: Ohio State Buckeyes and the Cincinnati Bearcats. They are constellation prizes. If they keep winning out, they have the potential to reach that top 4 spot, either one of those top 4 spots. The Oregon pick from the college football playoff, the committee, it surprised me, and I didn't expect to see this. I did expect to see my Michigan State Spartans in there, however, after winning a big game against Michigan. We talked about that. I can go off and have an entire podcast by myself about that game. Incredible game overall. Incredible comeback, coming back 16 points with little time left in the third quarter, not much left to do, and really getting to work in the fourth quarter, allowing them to win that game and come back and make that a contest, making and completing some successful 2-point conversions, which were pivotal in setting the stage for that win. Incredible win. But looking at these other 4 teams, Alabama at the number 2 spot, going to be facing Michigan State if everything stands going forward. Kind of expected, right? We kind of expected seeing that. Even with a loss in there, it's impressive to see them in there. They could still lose this year. they still could lose and essentially be kicked out of the top 4 no matter what or how good they play going forward the rest of the season. If they lose one more game, they are going to be out. Hopefully, they don't get in the top 6 still, even with 2 losses, just because the AP polls, the analysts, the broadcasters just love Alabama. Even the College Football Playoff Committee, Gary Barta, these guys love Alabama. They love to see them in the top 4. Georgia has earned it being 8-0. Oregon surprised me too, especially with Oklahoma still being undefeated. The uncertainty between Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler still remains. Those are things we got to consider. That's something that maybe not the College Football Playoff Committee considered. It's tough to tell by looking at this graphic, though. And then you got Ohio State 7-1. Cincinnati definitely earns that 6th spot, if not the 5. I don't see why they're not 5 and Ohio State could be 6. Similar strength of schedule. You see other teams that are 7-1, not even the conversation, having the same schedule difficulty as teams like Ohio State. So that's something to consider too, but you always got to expect the SEC to be at the top of that leaderboard as far as strength in schedule, strength in conference. Those are things that got to be considered. Oregon surprises me. Seeing Oklahoma not even the conversation kind of impresses me, seeing them being undefeated and seeing them still in the top 4 in the AP polls. These are projections. These are projections going forward. We still got a lot of season left. A lot of things could happen. This is by no means set in stone, but we have to consider what is going on with Gary Barta. Gary Barta, he is the commissioner, the chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee. He has made certain decisions regarding the team's placements, regarding Alabama being in the top 4, besides that loss to Texas A&M, which we're going to kind of gloss over, I guess, if we're the College Football Playoff Committee, people that make the rankings of that nature. These are projections. Let's be clear about that. So Gary Barta is the head of that. He's the head of solidifying those things. Whether or not he has anything to do with the actual AP polls and the making of the AP polls is unbeknownst to me. I know he holds the keys when it comes to putting teams in the college football playoff that we see happen and we see play for BCS championships. We see that all the time. So this guy's been at the helm. He's the athletic director at Iowa, which might create a little bit of a soft spot for Big Ten teams, that being Ohio State and especially Michigan State with their performance. He went on an interview to elaborate on the placement of Michigan State at that 3 spot and why he put them there. A lot of sense being made by them. I love seeing Michigan State in the top 4. Obviously, a little bit biased opinion, a little bit objectivity or a subjectivity rather that I got to show, that I got to portray on the show because I got to give my piece, right? Got to give my 2 cents. I'm a Michigan State Spartan at heart, and seeing them up there is great. Still got some games to win. Still got Ohio State coming up, which that game could really turn the tide as far as Ohio State's chances of making it into the top 4. So we'll focus on that and see where things go from here. We'll see where things go from here. Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about Deshaun Watson. A lot of scandal, a lot of controversy surrounding Deshaun Watson right now, and unprecedented. This has affected his chances of reaching a trade deal with the Miami Dolphins, getting traded and getting the hell out of Houston like he wants so bad. He has surrounded himself within multiple sexual assault allegations with 22 women in 10 states. 22 women in 10 states. So this is something, or it might be 4 states. 22 women in 4 states. 10 of them have, came forward and have proceeded with legal allegations against Deshaun Watson. These are controversies that will prevent him from playing. These are things that will distract him from winning games. Not like they really had much of a chance to get far this year anyways. But, it's a cloud of controversy surrounding Deshaun Watson and the entire Houston Texans. And it eliminated his chances of getting that trade deal within the trade deadline with the Miami Dolphins. He wanted to get out of there so bad. And this is another thing where they got the controversy surrounding the NFL, surrounding different individuals within the NFL that really, it affects their game. It affects their career going forward. So that's something we got to look at. let's look at Deshaun Watson. Hopefully he can turn his life around, get out of these charges. If they're false, if they're true, then I hope he's prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That behavior is unacceptable, and you should not be able to get away with that, no matter who you are, no matter how high your stature is. So I hope that the right decision is made by our criminal justice system in making a decision on Deshaun Watson going forward. So we'll spruce it up now with something a little bit positive. The Atlanta Braves have won the World Series against the Houston Astros for the first time since 1995. Very impressive stuff, seeing them win. They did win in Houston. Houston was expected to go forward and really do big things last night. They did not do that, got dusted 7-0 in the World Series game. I believe that was game 6. Didn't push it to a game 7. They were 3-2. The Braves were 3-2 going into last night's contest back in Houston. Houston won game 5 by a significant margin in Atlanta, which was impressive. The Astros beat them, and it was an impressive thing to see. I liked watching these contests. Obviously, I wanted my LA Dodgers to be in the contest. It wasn't the case. But to see the Astros lose that, I don't want to say it was a good sight to see for me because I'm not really pulling for sides when it comes to these two teams. But to see the Braves win it for the first time since '95 was a sight to see, and I was impressed with the Atlanta Braves and their execution and their defensive maneuvers and their hitting, getting on base, and performing in high-intensity situations. So very good job, very well done by the Atlanta Braves. Moving on, let's talk about Henry Suggs, the third in a fatal crash resulting in a DUI and a multitude of charges that will surround him and his entire family for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, it resulted in a fatality of a young woman in the outskirts of Las Vegas, and drunk driving kills. So his blood alcohol content was more than 2 times the legal limit. He was driving with his girlfriend at the time. She received significant injuries to her arm, in which she received treatment. Henry, however, received minimal injuries and was treated for those injuries at a nearby hospital. But this resulted in a death of an innocent person, an innocent driver. Yes, it was in the wee hours of the night, past 3 a.m. Las Vegas time, but that is no excuse. Drinking was involved, getting behind the wheel was involved, and I've had people that are close to me, pass away from drunk driving. So that is something that hits very close to home with me, and especially when it results in a fatality of the person that was not drunk driving, it's even more sad to see and to hear about. So my condolences to the family and everybody involved with this ordeal. It's been a tragedy. It's been a tragedy. You see a young player, 22 years old, wide receiver, a promising career with the Las Vegas Raiders, could have played for a multitude of teams. He has since been released from the Las Vegas Raiders roster, and his life is over. Basically, his life is over. And you really can't focus on anything other than that night. Those decisions made, what should I have done differently? And that question in and of itself will eat him alive for the rest of his long life. Very sad stuff without dwelling on it too much. Very unfortunate events. Very unfortunate events have taken place, and to the expense of a promising career of a young athlete. Never like to see it. So very sad stuff going on. There's some controversy. There's some devastation. There's some praise with the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series, as well as other promising moves going on in the college football landscape, in the college football playoff picture. So there's good things and bad things. You got to take the good with the bad. I prefaced that before I got started here today on the GSN Sports Network podcast. Take the good with the bad. Take the good with the bad. Like that one guy said on Happy Gilmore, right before Happy Gilmore takes that first swing, he goes, "Whoa, psycho. You remember him saying that, right? You know what I'm talking about. Not going to name names of actors. You got to use your responsibility, use your ideology, use your mindset, use what you got up here between your ears. And if you didn't happen to see Happy Gilmore ever, first of all, you played yourself. But second of all, take some time right now, exit this live stream, exit this podcast, whatever you're doing, drop everything and go watch that movie. Absolute classic, absolute banger. Moving on, we got merchandise and events. Merchandise will be dropping with our new website coming out in the next few weeks. People are pressuring us. When's the new website coming out? It's coming out within the next few weeks. Okay. We're getting the finishing touches completed. We're getting people in positions where they need to be put. It's like putting a puzzle together and having a time limit, because it's very difficult to put a puzzle together when you got the clock ticking. So we're going to eliminate that timer and get the puzzle completed when we have to. And it's going to be in a timely manner, trust me. So with that, we're going to have merchandise on the website. There's going to be a store embedded within the website with a multitude of items dropping immediately for your purchase. You're purchasing respect. You're purchasing desire, whatever you want to put it, whatever you want to consider it to be. So there's going to be a lot of stuff on there for you to purchase and look at. And we'll be giving you guys updates as we figure more out with the website and the store and merchandise and our events coming up very soon too. We have the disc golf tournament, which possibly will be canceled just due to a scheduling error with the snafu that has been surrounding the location of the disc golf tournament. But don't fret, there will be a tournament. That date will be to be announced, and there's a lot of things going on as far as events, as far as scheduling, and it gets embedded into the new website too, with a calendar that will be posted with updates below it, giving you guys insight on when our events will take place and how you can get involved. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Wanted to touch on a few topics, wanted to touch on a few things, a few controversies, a few upholding items, a few things that'll make you feel good, a few things that might make you feel indifferent, like the Aaron Rodgers test positive for COVID-19. I'm sure he's taking all the protocols to, get recovered and things like that. Not saying that's a good or bad thing or a neutral thing. That is something that is news that, you hear it all the time. You hear athletes getting on the COVID list, and, within that a lot of time, they're healthy guys, they're athletes. So they're going to be back, and we can be confident about that. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how that plays out with the Kansas City Chiefs Green Bay Packers game coming up this Sunday, November 7th. And we'll be excited to call out some bets. Follow the Bet with Gin Instagram page. I'll put that handle right here on the screen for those of you guys watching live. And go check that out. A lot of bets being put on there. A lot of bets being posted to the story that will be reposted throughout the Instagram waves within our family of accounts that are posting constantly on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Go follow our link tree. Go down there, check that link out for those of you guys watching live. Click it, type it into your URL bar, and go follow our socials. That involves our company socials as well as the individual socials of our analysts, contributors, and co-owners, owners, things like that. Has everything on there for you guys and for your viewing pleasure. Get involved and get into it. Get involved with the game. So good stuff, guys. Make sure you're staying posted for all updates regarding Gin Promotions and the Gin Sports Network, as things are changing constantly. This is the only constant is change. The only constant is change. Make sure to stay focused and stay involved so you don't get left in the dark. Very important virtue right there to take note of. Good deal, guys. Well, thank you for tuning into the Gin Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II.